A Latin maxim says, cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. Ubuntu is what defines my origins, my reach, my influence, and my associations. In 1961, the American president, John F. Kennedy, said, "Do not ask what this country will do for me, but rather ask what I will do for my country." I say to you today, people are born, they live, and they die. Now, the land that you live on today, it could be well indeed in Zimbabwe, it could be well indeed in Nigeria, it could be in Botswana, it could be in South Africa. It was left behind by generations and generations of your ancestors. Now, one of the monuments that we know that were left behind is the Great Zimbabwe here in Zimbabwe. Some left the Jodlo ruins, and some left the legacy of Harare, today commonly referred to as Harare. Some left the legacy of Ushaka Zulu and Undabezita. And the most recent and outstanding are the likes of Kwame Nkrumah, that left us a dream that we were all sold, the dream of a United States of Africa. Cecil John Rhodes left a legacy of Rhodesia, the British South Africa Company, while Lincoln left the abandonment or abolishment of the slave trade. One of my most favorite authors, Mariam Williamson, says, and it's a very favorite poem, a lot of you may know it, President Nelson Mandela made a quote from it, and I'm going to recite it for you. It says, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, to be gorgeous, to be handsome, to be talented, and to be fabulous? Actually, the question should be, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children of God. We were born to make manifest the glory of God within us. It is not just in some, it is everyone. And as we let our light shine, we consciously give other people the permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our fear, our presence automatically liberates others. I close those quotes. That's not my words. Those are Mariam Williamson's words. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow brothers and sisters, fellow Africans, sons and daughters of the soil, I want to take this opportunity to greet all of you that are here gathered. I know that it may look a little unorthodox that I started by talking, but I remember when I was at primary school, I had a teacher that told me that there was something that was called an attention getter. And normally, it is in the extraordinary and not the norm. I come from an organization called the United People of Africa, and I also come from an organization called the African Diaspora Global Network. I reside in South Africa, born and bred Zimbabwean, a Zimbabwean citizen, but I denounce my Zimbabwean citizenship for my African citizenship.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
I don't denounce my Zimbabwean citizenship because Zimbabwe is wallowing in poverty and anything else. I denounce it because there is nothing more attractive and more superior than to be called an African, than to stoop low and define myself in terms of the borders and parameters that I have never voted for, that my ancestors had no part in determining, that no one of us sitting here today had no vote or voice or word in it, but it was the Berlin Conference that decided it. And yes, some things are good, we learn from others, we adopt them because they help us be the people that we are today. But indeed, it is therefore in that realization that when we realize the things that make us who we are, the past that we come from, the future that we are going to, that we become a better people because we get to learn what has made us who we are. Now, you will notice and agree with me that Africa has been called and referred to by a lot of names. Some of those names are the Black Dark Continent, the underdeveloped, the Global South, and the reasons for the names that Africa has been called, it has not been anything to try and uplift but degrade the African status. Today, a lot of us desire to be in the West, the East, or somewhere else. Today, so many of us will choose to do a very special term called skin bleaching because they believe that the skin that is white is better. But I've got news for you today, that the lighter white skin is actually a defective skin because it lacks melanin. That is why it needs skin turning. I don't think you heard that. The reason why you will realize that people like Cecil John Rhodes did trek in the first place to Africa, it was for health reasons, because he was a sickly young man, and he had to come and find the curing environment of Africa, the sun and the liberated skies and bushes of Africa. That former president of South Africa, Thabo Mbeki, recited a very beautiful poem called I Am an African. Now, I want to say, when we speak about Africa and Pan-Africanism and Black consciousness, we speak about togetherness and oneness, not because we have a common agenda that says our cultures are the same. I deliberately chose not to wear today the theme of the day for one reason. I was listening to the pastor that when he was speaking, I felt that the pastor was doing us a lot of disservice. But it's not disservice. It's a description of what we have accepted, what we have embraced. We embrace that which we should not embrace, and we leave that which we should embrace. As Africans, we are synonymous. We have associated ourselves with failure. We have associated ourselves with poverty. But whose poverty? Because Africa is the richest continent. Do we agree?
Yes.
Now, let me tell you something. One of the most outstanding things that we have had is, in 1958, the last human zoo in Belgium was closed. And in that zoo, what was being showcased was Africans and not Europeans. Today we have got people that are referred to as colored because they are a mixture of the DNA of a white and a black person. It is not because a black person went on and raped a white person, but it is clearly and simply understood because a white person raped the very black person that they spoke ill about and thought that these were the worst people that were there, but they could still find pleasure in satisfying their sexual interest in them. That is the opposite of what we should be looking for. I know my time, I'm told that my 10 minutes, time is quite fascinating. I think I still have got 3 minutes. Now, let me say this to you. President Nelson Mandela said that some people are born and they will die and leave nothing behind. I want to dare and challenge this generation that as a generation of business people that are sitting here today, the success, the going forward of Africa, the ability to achieve an Africa that is inclusive, an Africa that caters for the African children, where we are going to red card poverty, where we are going to red card poor infrastructure development, it does not lie in the hands of any other person but you. As Mariam Williamson said, I think you need to look at yourself and say, what is it that I'm going to pass on to the next generation? Don't point a finger to somebody else. And I know a lot of us like to point fingers at our leaders. But one old adage says that the river does not flow beyond the capacity of its tributaries. If your leader is bad, don't look at your leader, look at yourself. What did you invest in that leader? Because if you invested nothing, don't expect to reap anything. Because in Africa we say, the child does not belong to the parents but the community. All leaders that we have come from communities. If we have bad leaders, it's because we have bad communities. If we have bad regional bodies, it is because we have bad local bodies. I know that, as I said when I began, we have a duty. And our duty is to invest here in Africa and not to complain that we have not been emancipated to so do. So in so saying, and in my closing, I want to invite you, fellow brothers and sisters, fellow Africans, and say it is our duty to stand up and ensure that every African child is emancipated and ensure that the African dream is realized in our lifetime. As a generation, we may live and pass, and then we may be like a cloud that ushers in winter that comes, but in a second, it is flushed away. And in the books of history, we will always read about the greats, the like of Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, Steve Biko, Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, the Tongo Garas, the Kwame Nkrumahs, the Haile Selassies, and where are you? Because we were all born and given the same gift and capacity, the capacity to give to our citizenship, the citizenship of Africa. I thank you. Good evening.
Thank you very much. So you have a group that was missed something. People of Botswana. People of Botswana, please DJ.